Hello, my name is Natalie Martin, and I'm a student here at San Joaquin Delta College in the Education 12 Section 70018 course, and this is my lesson plan number 3 presentation. The name of my lesson plan is called Academic Vocabulary and Word Study for the 4th grade classroom. The topic of my lesson plan focuses on the cognitive and language domain area, and it focuses on the skills of understanding and the meaning of particular academic vocabulary words, as well as having the opportunity to identify and fluently read word patterns for a sense of mastery. The objectives of my lesson plan follow as such. Students will be able to demonstrate understanding of the meaning of each academic vocabulary word selected by the teacher. Students will be able to define the vocabulary word, draw an image depicting the word's meaning, identify related words, write out a sample sentence, and generate examples of the word. Students will create note cards of the academic vocabulary words to utilize for their own knowledge building. Students will partake in discussion activities that relate to the background knowledge or help students connect the word to their lives. Students will identify and fluently read word patterns on cards in the list, as well as to obtain a sense of mastery. For my activity, you will need a couple materials. You will need cardstock paper of a vocabulary word, which will be the teacher's copy. You will need a projector so this can be displayed for the entire class to see. You will need index cards that still have the same matching vocabulary word, but the back of it will be blank. You will need markers for your students, and then eventually we'll need a word patterns study card sheet right here. For the lesson plan, the lesson will open up with a daily academic vocabulary introduction based off of the curriculum. The teacher will utilize the classroom projector and introduce a vocabulary word selected. The teacher will then pass out the index cards relating to the word with spots on the back to draw and write in so that the student can write in an image, a sample sentence, an example, and a related word. Once the students complete their index cards, the students will then partake in a discussion activity such as a think, pair, and share or a turn and talk activity that relates to the background knowledge or helps students connect the word to their own lives and to their peers. You will then ask students to share what they talked about in their group and to have a more understanding of the word. After dedicating the time of building vocabulary comprehension, these words will be put into the rotation of word patterns that students should be able to identify. Next, for the next activity, this will be about word patterns, where the vocabulary words that were discussed in here will be integrated into word patterns. The word patterns will be read aloud as a group first, then students will have the opportunity to read the words quietly to themselves. Then students will collaborate again with their partner and read the word patterns, while another student follows along and gives back the feedback. The teacher will monitor the room to check for accuracy and mistakes. If I were to have a student who had an accommodation in my class, such as autism, there are many accommodations that I would do to help this student. For example, if this student had autism, then I could understand that they would have limited verbal and nonverbal communication skills and would also be very sensitive to sensory stimuli. In order to meet this special need, I will accommodate the student by understanding that they work best through structured routine and individualized learning. When it comes to the pairing portion, I will opt that the student can either pair with their paraprofessional, who they're more comfortable with, rather than a classroom. Additionally, I will also provide selective seating in the classroom, such as a quiet corner, or allow for noise-canceling headphones if the turn talks get too loud for that student to work and function in. Additionally, I can also provide by breaking down the lesson plan. For example, instead of having to do multiple of these, the student can only do 1 or 2, where I would grade based off of quality rather than quantity. This activity was designed for a 4th grade classroom for them to understand vocabulary comprehension and to build this in their subject. Students will be able to understand these words, and when they go out to read books from another classroom or books from this classroom, they can understand these words and their meaning and have a more cohesive understanding of the story and the context around it. A guide to speech and action that I could use is to help a child set standards based off of his or her own past performance rather than on comparison with peers. For example, instead of comparing how students create their vocabulary words, allowing them to have the flexibility and the independence to create this allows them to foster their own knowledge and become the facilitator of their own learning. Thank you so much for my presentation.